Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and we've got a trend going here. I've got the second one in a batch of reels that I received that's absolutely locked up here. This is a Penn 209, and it just doesn't turn. Always interesting to try and figure out what's going on in these reels. So I think we'll do this one as a why has this reel failed, and how to service it and get it back running again, give it a second chance. This reel is a Penn Peer 209. It's got the burgundy side plates on it. This one is very clean, and well, it's just not turning. That usually means that there's something either broken as a part inside, or maybe there's a line jam up or something. Just don't know. And the only way you're going to find out, other than to sit here and idly speculate about it, is to take the reel apart, to do an inspection, make sure everything gets cleaned, lubed, reassembled. So we'll do this as a why did the reel fail, but we're also going to do this to show you how to service this reel if you have it. Well, we're going to start by removing the exterior parts, and as I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you do like these types of videos, and well, you can learn from it, and you can learn how to do it yourself, and that's kind of what this channel is about, teaching you to do it yourself and to promote the art of reel repair rather than just simply disposing of reels because you can't find somewhere to work on it. Well, this handle is not sitting very tight. That usually means that either the handle itself is elongated or the gear sleeve has lost its flat sides, and well, looks like it has enough that we can continue. We've removed the handle. Now I'm going to remove the star adjuster. And now let's do a little bit of a look. Let's put this off. Let's see, can I spin my, well, I'm still locked up. Sometimes if the drags are compromised, the star adjuster pressing against the side plate could cause the situation that we see here. Well, we're going to continue. I'm going to remove this little cap that's going to hold the end of the worm gear. And when I take my pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. I use the fast food container for all of my pieces. I recommend that as you're working and servicing your reels, to have a plan in place about what you're going to do with the pieces and the parts that you take off. I also recommend that you take pictures along the way. That way you can see reference points if you get stuck or lost on the reassembly. Those of you that have been watching my channel for some time now know that I get quite a few reel in a bag projects in. Just did one the other day on a Ambassador 7000. Came in a bag because somebody got going on a reel, lost their place, and well, couldn't figure out how to do that. All right, let's see if this tells us anything when removing the pieces and parts. Not really. We've got the worm gear came off. Let's see if that's riding correctly. That's riding. Well, that's getting hung up a little bit. Not sure why that is. We'll do an inspection a little bit later. See if we can get that right. Let's turn the gear side now. Well, the gear side now is turning. So that says that whatever the issue is, it's not the drive side. So let's go over to the non-drive side. And this one kind of looks right as well. I'm going to take the idler gear and spin that. And there's our answer. So the idler gear is stuck, which means that the spool cannot turn the idler gear, turn the worm gear, so nothing can turn the spool if that's stuck. Quick look here. I'm going to think that maybe that idler gear is on upside down. There's a big kind of a dent, if you will, in here going inward. I'm thinking that whoever put that on backwards. But you know, that's been there a while. Let's take this off and see if that's the cause. And you find all kinds of interesting things. The broken parts, the line being stuck, I call those operator errors. This one I want to call a service error if that's the case. We've just removed the click ring. That's held on by 2 studs and a screw. And now let's take this thing out and see what in the world is going on here. Well, I believe that's exactly what it is. I think that somebody has put that on backwards. First thing we want to do is eliminate the idea that the drive for the line guide is wrong. Let's inspect all of the teeth. It's a good thing that whoever put this on, when they put it on, didn't just go ahead and jam it up. And yes, it is on backwards. Funny things, how they happen. Let's go ahead and see if we can just reinstall this. We can put a little bit of grease on the bottom of this. It's a Teflon piece or a plastic piece. It doesn't need to be greased. I don't grease the gear teeth themselves, but just because that's probably been blown out of shape, I'm going to say that's the issue. So what have we done so far in the issue diagnosis? We've kind of come down a path that eliminates issues along the way. Oh, this one's still sticking. And now I'm wondering if the worm gear has got something stuck in it. Oh, I'm going to take this off again. And now we're going to turn this to see maybe this worm gear has got a piece stuck to it. That happens when a gear shatters. I'm not seeing that. So the next thing we want to look at then is there something going on in this? Okay, so it's sticking right there. So let's go ahead and take this, oops, get it to the sticking point, hold it firm. And now we're going to check both teeth sides. I'm going to look right here. And there doesn't seem to be anything unusual in that side. And we're going to look on this side. And again, nothing unusual. This is kind of an oddball one. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to shut the camera off, see if I can find a different idler gear, and come back and finish the service. Okay, well I located a used one. So let's see if we can't put this in and see if we have that same issue. Sometimes, since that was installed incorrectly, it's possible that it bowed it, and that's what's causing the jam. Not sure. Always interesting to try and figure these things out. If you like puzzles, well, Real Repair is for you. Let's see what we do. Look at that. Now we've got it spinning nice and easily the way it should. Wow. Okay. Well, lesson learned. This bubble here probably caused a warp, which caused an issue there. So let's continue on then. I'm just going to clean this side right now, and we'll show you how to service the reel and complete the process. Again, this reel is in nice condition. That the flaw seems to have been in the issue with the idler gear. Put a little bit of grease on here. Remember, we have to reinstall that click ring, so that'll go next. You have to spread the two tags on the ring. Not always easy to do. There we go. Then line up your click ring on the two studs. And get that little screw. And I'm going to use a screw starter to get that one done. And I can see right here there was an issue with that, because here's one of the broken teeth from the last of the gears. You might be able to see it right there. That's a broken tooth that came off. So somebody replaced it upside down, bowed it, probably said, I'm done with this reel, give it up, and well, they either sold it or it came here from the guilty party, if you will. Okay, this side is complete. I'm just going to set this off to a side for a moment. Let's show you how to service the gear side of this reel. And whenever I have a reel apart, it's always a nice time to go about cleaning. Now again, we know that this reel is very clean, but when it was clean, the side plates weren't removed because you can see the greases that have accumulated along the posts. When I service a reel, I like to put this so that the jack is up, makes it easier to remove. If you're working on some of these reels, just check like I did. You may need to remove the chrome shield from the other side because the bearing may, the gear may be below that point. Okay, I'm cupping my hand because there is an anti-reverse dog attached to the screw, and when you open that up, sometimes you're going to lose this little spring. That's the dog spring. So I have a place right in my part tray for that. And remove the dog, or you remove the main gear and shaft. While we're on this side, we'll take out the jack, the yoke and springs, and we'll have a clean side plate here. You do not need to remove the free spool eccentric as part of service. Also, if you're not familiar with the reel, and you can tell I am familiar with the reel, if you're not familiar with the reel, please stop along the way and take pictures so that you can see the orientation of the pieces and parts. If you get lost, the picture makes a great reference point. Well, if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, please leave that question in the comment section. I will try to answer that for you. Well, there's one more piece I like to remove when I'm doing the servicing on the Penn reels, and that is the gear sleeve itself. If you have an awl, you can poke a pin through. There's a pin that holds this gear sleeve on right there. And when you poke it through enough, that will release the sleeve. I've just completely removed it. You can see it on the table there. Pull up on the gear sleeve. That'll enable you to clean the bridge. I'm going to wipe it down, remove all the old greases, and you'll see a number stamped on this bridge. It says 3-155. The Penn 209 uses a lot of the reel parts from the 155 Beachmaster. The reason it is bigger than the Beachmaster is that it has to accommodate that line guide, but a lot of the internal parts are the same. With that installed, we want to push the pin back in to hold that gear sleeve. Now I'm noticing that there are new drags in here. You can see the new drag, it's the HT100. I want to check the teeth on the gear. Just make sure, we had that jam up there, and I'm not sure if somebody may have tried to wrench it and destroyed a tooth or two on the reel. So just take a look. Main gear goes back on. Check the drag washers. These can be installed and dried, or they can be greased. So I'll put a little bit of grease on it. The grease keeps them flexible and keeps them from drying out. Doesn't give it any more or less drag. And then the sequence for these drag washers, it's a 6 drag washer system. You have 3 hard washers, 3 metal washers, and a cap washer. 2 of the metal washers are called keyed washers. They have a rectangular center. Those go high and low on the gear stack. Do that again. We'll grease up the second drag washer. The middle washer is an eared washer. It has 2 points on it, and they go into the slots in the main gear. And sometimes you got to look for them. Sometimes you land right on them. In that case, it just landed right on it. We'll do one more with the dry grease. You don't over grease them, just enough to kind of coat it, but still see the ridges on the drag washer. The last of the keyed washers goes on. The cap washer is bowed, that's next. It's not a flat washer. And then the gear sleeve goes on top of that. I guess I got my money's worth out of this glove here. I'll continue. I actually poked myself in the last real repair I was doing. Poked myself with a screwdriver when I misconnected. No blood. Good deal. Make sure you get grease onto the shoulders of the yoke. Do the same thing here. Inspect the teeth on the pinion gear. Make sure that they're not out of shape or bent or chipped or broken like we saw in that piece that fell out of the idler gear. And I guess while I'm doing this, is a good time to tell you to ask questions if you have any questions about this reel or any reel, or want to know more about them. Maybe you're working and see if the fellow that sent this reel in had asked a question, maybe we could have solved this one and through the comment section. Don't know, this is a rather unusual one, but we could have tried. When you've greased up the bearing behind it and the pinion gear and yoke, push down on that, take your jack, slip it over the stud on the eccentric gear, make sure it lines so that the stud in the case there is correct, and that's how that assembly will sit. Next up, we want to go back to that anti-reverse dog and install that. You'll notice that there are two sets of screws. One of them has a fully threaded section to it. The other one has a partially threaded. The fully threaded screws go in the bottom of the bridge, and the ones that are partially threaded go through the springs that we just installed. Looking at this, on the right side is where you're going to install the anti-reverse dog. The screw goes through, the dog goes over this, and then you find that little flying ant or spring. And I like to put these in kind of just wiggling my finger till I get it where it nests inside the cavity. Once that's done, rotate the bridge. And you may need to do what I'm doing here. Just grab the pinion gear and make sure that it comes through the yoke before you tighten down on the screw. I don't tighten that all the way because you need a little bit of give to get these screws aligned properly with the bridge. I go in opposite directions now, so I was on the bottom looking at it this way left, and I went to the top right. Fully threaded screw goes to the bottom of the other side, and the partially threaded screw goes here. Now I can tighten them all down. So these reels were very popular, and they ran for quite some time as the only level wind that Penn had. And then they replaced these with the 300 series, the 310, 320, 330, 345. What I'm doing here is I'm taking out the pawl cap now. So I want to inspect the pawl. It seemed to be hanging up a little bit, so I want to make sure. When you remove the pawl cap, put a little bit of oil, just a drop. Check the pawl for the shoulders to make sure they're clean and that the points are nice and firm, that they're not bent or misshapen. And we can come back in here and reassemble this. Do this by hand, and you need to get this where it lines up in a groove. So if you're not feeling it move, it's outside the groove. And what you do in an iterative process is just kind of tighten down on the screw until the screw is fully seated against the block. That's working the way it should. Drop of oil now onto the worm gear. If the worm gear was clogged with old greases and oils and dirt, go ahead and use a bristle brush to clean the tracks out before you go any further. Next up then, we want to take our star adjuster and put that back on. I want to clean that first. Again, you can see that whatever cleaning was done, and this is a clean reel, was done without removing the side plates or any of the gear mechanism because the residual greases and oils are hanging out behind it. Let's go ahead and put the star adjuster on. Make sure that you have it going correctly. If it's askew, stop, don't force anything. Okay, we're on with that. Give it a twirl, make sure that it's working properly. The only thing remaining to be greased is the one side I couldn't get, which is on the face of the jack that's going to go under the bridge. What I like to do here, bring that to pull the pinion gear in. And I like to set one screw, usually the one furthest from where that line guide shield is going to go. I like to do that just to hold this in place while I go to put the line guide shield in. There's a lot of things going on here. You do not need to install the line guide assembly yet. When you go for the shield, there's two sides. One is short, one is long. The short belongs to the front. And now you can kind of lift and play a little bit here. You want to get the line guide studs into the two pinholes on the one side of the case, and then the pinholes on the other side of the case. Once those are in now, you can align the side plate with another screw hole, tighten that down. And then go back to the other side, tighten that one down, and then it's just a matter of filling in the blanks now. You have two different types of screws here. You have long screws and short screws. The long screws, there's three of them, they go into the cross posts. That's what I'm putting in now. The two shorter screws go into the side plate, right at the reel seat here. If you put the long screws in there, they're going to protrude, and they have a possibility of catching the line when you're casting. Well, that needs to come down a little bit. I'm going to use a awl to center that so that I can get the screw started. Just keep working it. Eventually you will get it to tighten. And then go back and take that other small screw and put it on the other side. And with your side plate installed, we're pretty close to getting this done now. Okay, so far we've taken the reel apart. We've found the problem. It was in the idler gear. And we decided to rebuild the whole reel, cleaned it all, lubricated the drag system, took the pawl out and cleaned that. And now what you would like to do in terms of how to install the line shield in, move your line guide to the right hand side of the worm gear, put it through the hole in the case, make sure you mount into the track, and then slide it back so that it's in the approximate area of that worm drive. Once you do that, hold pressure on the line guide with the thumb, turn the reel so that the rectangular part of that line guide seats properly. Now we can put the collar on. We have our clicker on. We need to adjust our spool a little bit. Let's put the handle on next. The handle screw. And we're just about ready to set up for a test. This is an unusual one. I have not seen that happen, but again, that's not operator error, and that's not mechanical failure. Now, there was a mechanical failure because we found the tooth in that side plate, but the actual problem was not in. That wasn't the cause of this issue. The cause of this issue was somebody rebuilding it incorrectly. Okay, handle is on. Let's give it a ride, see how we did. Well, we're a little tight. A little tight usually means that the burring on this side has been over tightened. So let's back that off a little bit. There we go. Spinning freely. So if I remember correctly, there's also a spring that belongs on this. After the video is done, I will shut that down and go find the spring for it. But in the meantime, look at that. We've gone from a seized reel to one that just kind of turns effortlessly. That's kind of what makes this reel special. It's a very nice level line reel for deep sea fishing, perfect for drop fishing from a boat or a pier. And, well, it'll last a long time if properly maintained. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and hope you've learned something from it, as I've learned something from it, about the failure of an idler gear being installed incorrectly. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. Your efforts truly are appreciated. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.